Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the E-commerce Performance Marketing Show. Hey, how's it going, guys? Josh Marsden here, host of the E-com Performance Marketing Show. And I am very honored to have an incredible guest right here in front of me and also in front of you. I've got Alex Brown of the Beard Club, formerly known as the Dollar Beard Club. Alex has had tremendous success in e-commerce. And like I said, I'm super honored to have him on the show. I know he has some stellar strategies and tactics and tips to share today. And I'm looking forward to it. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me so much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being on, man. I truly appreciate it. I'd love it if you can just introduce yourself first, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your backstory, and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably good just to kind of paint the picture of how I got into this industry as well. So I've been in e-commerce in one form or another for almost 6 years now. Actually kind of very synchronously, I don't think that's a word, but hopefully it is. By synchronicity, I got matched and became friends very quickly and decided to kind of hop on board with a friend of mine, my former business partner, Chris. And at the time he was in California, he had just kind of launched a successful crowdfunding campaign and had crowdfunded a wearable product. So they just finished the campaign. And personally, I have kind of like a broad range of skills, and we can kind of get into that later. It's really hard for me to be like, when people are like, hey, what do you do? What are you good at? I've kind of done a little bit of everything at all the businesses we've had. So I'm sort of like a jack of all trades. But with that in mind, I was good at taking a lot of the ideas he had and just putting pen to paper and creating action steps and just sort of like integrating and starting to put things together. So him and I worked really well together. He's a very creative guy and could create a vision, and I could sort of like piece it together. So that's kind of how I started, was doing everything you can imagine for these crowdfunding campaigns, which quickly one became another. We were trying to find really awesome products we could sell. I mean, now I think, and even then to some degree, you would just drop ship existing products. We were trying to create products from scratch. Then we'd go and engineer them, start to try and sell them. And, it was kind of like a backwards model where you put all this, you can sell it first before it exists, but then you put all this energy into developing them. So I don't know if you've ever developed like tech products or anything like that. It's a lot of work. So typically that's kind of where we would fall short. And we had a couple companies that we would get crowdfund, we would put together and then decide they don't really have legs or the competition was too great. So we did that a couple of times, but we did really well with the launch, right? The branding, everything like that. So we were able to generate demand for something that didn't exist and then go and develop it. So we had such a knack for this that we kind of had a bit of an agency. So we were helping out other people that wanted to crowdfund products, that wanted to do product launches, and help them do their videos, sort of the visual look of the brand, and then help them go out and just sort of sell it and get PR. And at this time, we really had no expertise in performance marketing, unfortunately, but you learn a lot on the fly. So in that process, we then launched another product called Coolbox. We did about $500,000 in Indiegogo, and that landed Chris, my business partner, on Shark Tank. I definitely wasn't good enough on camera at that point to be on the show, but he was on Shark Tank. And so that experience just like elevated our network, our connections, but also just like our expertise, our understanding of how to sell, again, how to brand. And so we were in the midst of kind of fulfilling this product. And at this time we'd attracted, I think there's probably 6 of us. All of us were 6 guys living in a house together, just working in our living room with this like makeshift office, kind of rapid fire ideating on what we could launch, how we could help clients, all this different stuff, try to make money however we could, which was going well sometimes. Other times we would Airbnb at our rooms and sleep in the garage or sleep in the backyard. It's Southern California, so it's not so bad. And just to be able to keep paying rent and keep things going, keep buying groceries.
Yeah. Nice.
And But around that time, like there's the 6 of us, we all have beards. We're like starting to really explore living more naturally, just kind of like a holistic lifestyle and sort of like removing chemicals from our life. We all had beards, like I said. So we're like starting just looking at beard products, and most of what was out there was sort of like smaller operations, mom and pop shops, and like smaller brands that were selling beard oil, which is really just essential oils and carrier oil and everything like that for $20. So we thought, like, why couldn't we sell one of these small? And like, no one's done this whole Dollar Beard Club sort of idea of like creating like this funky, awesome brand for beard products and just selling to a lot of people, making a little bit of money off a lot of people instead of vice versa. And we filmed our first video in the warehouse where we were shipping all of our other products out. Put it together for about $1,800. We started to show people, like our advisors from our previous companies, and they're like, this is going to do really well. We'd originally kind of taken a small batch of products and like private labeled them, and it was a couple hundred of each SKU. And we were advised to like really invest money. And so we found a bunch of contract manufacturers, further developed the products, and kind of sat on the idea for like 7 months. But glad we did that, because when we did launch it, we had a few of our advisors, Dan Fleischman, Brandon Hampton, are really into the influencer marketing world. So they got us a lot of like really cheap kind of posts or just accounts that they owned. So we launched the video. We put a little bit of that viral juice and influence behind it, but it really stuck, and really stuck out to people. So it started getting picked up on Reddit. There was just this big Reddit thread on it, on Product Hunt. And then about 2 days after we launched, like woke up and our phones were blowing up. We were on Product Hunt. I was like, listed as one of the co-founders. I was trying to like answer all these questions. Then we hit, Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, like all these, like, it was sort of like the viral dream of hitting all these different blogs.
Yeah.
And very quickly almost sold out of our product. So I won't go through like the full sort of Beard Club experience, but it was this company that just literally had this hockey stick growth. Right. And again, coming from the background of knowing how to sell something really well and brand it, but not know how to actually run the operations. Sure. We broke just about everything you can possibly imagine. Our website, our fulfillment, we had to change fulfillment partners. We had to hire some great people to help mentor us and structure the business a lot better. We really had no systems and processes in place. And, it's kind of like our calling card in the industry, at least to now. This is the biggest business I've been a part of. We hit $10 million in sales in our first year. And so going from 0 to an 8-figure business in 1 year without the systems in place to run an 8-figure business, you can imagine a lot of things went wrong. So that was kind of like just a huge learning experience. And of course, on social media, everyone sort of sees the revenue numbers and thinks that we're making the amount that we're selling. But as screenshots of revenue are different than what's actually coming to the business. And, our lives were pretty hectic, getting caught up with all of that growth. So, that's kind of been the main experience that most people like to talk about, because it was just sort of the Cinderella story. Since then, I've stepped back from the business and mostly exited my equity in the business, and now I've been advising other brands and kind of helping them avoid a lot of those mistakes that I was just talking about, whether it's in operations or in marketing, kind of helping them uncover opportunities where they can either duplicate our success or avoid our failures.
Yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, that's a really, cool story. I loved how, you were basically grinding it out in an entrepreneur house with all of the other team members in that one house. Similar to like, what a lot of college students go through when they're living in the dorms and they're grinding it out. They're living in these small dorms, crowded dorms, very similar story, but it was just, I just love how, you guys really were like hustling and just getting your hands dirty in those early stages of the business. And and then you guys were getting holistic, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, we see an opportunity here, let's go after it. And then of course you guys did that video, which I laughed when you described that video, because I saw it years ago, and I saw it at Baby Bathwater actually also years ago as well. And that was just such an incredible video. But it was like you just said, $1,800. I mean, it was fairly simple in a way. I'm sure there was a lot of creative work behind the scenes that went into getting the video done, and figuring out exactly how the scenes would shoot and what you guys would do during the video and stuff like that. But just thinking about what it went into it, it wasn't that much, compared to what most people think. Most people think a viral video like that would take, thousands of dollars and, a huge expertise in that. But I mean, did you guys have like anything like that? I mean, did you guys have like expertise in creating video?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things to unpack there. First, like before we get into the video, it's kind of funny. I just remember this. I don't know if you have seen Silicon Valley, the series.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was coming out like literally right as, we were building this business, and there were so many parallels in that show to like the startup house life that we were living. It was just like crazy, even down to, having this like very kind of out there investor. Like we had a similar scenario as well. Like it was all crazy and cool. But on the video front, so I'm definitely making it seem a lot simpler than it was. Like, yeah, it was $1,800, but the reason it was only $1,800 is because we had these other businesses that we were working on in the agency. One of the guys that was living with us, it was incredibly talented videographer, and I always use the word videographer and then I get corrected on it because it simplifies everything that they do. But he's just a master at creating amazing commercials on budget, right? So we didn't have to pay for his time. He was invested in sweat equity. And that's something that, after we took off too, we brought on 2 more full-time creative people. And so that's kind of one of our, secrets to success is that we took creative very seriously, and we were able to iterate and come out with, these cool videos that some of them we'd spend a lot of money on. They wouldn't do that well. Other ones we'd just we'd be like, this would be really funny. Let's go shoot it. We'd do it in an afternoon and it could bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right. So, that was like an in-house natural talent we developed, as well as Chris, my business partner. That was really one of his genius skill sets, is being able to think of something creative and make it happen on a shoestring.
Nice, so man. Nice.
We're definitely oversimplifying the whole $1,800 thing. And,
I'm just wondering, like the sweat equity part, like, because that would be something of value to the audience too. Like, how did you create, those relationships early on in the business when you were bootstrapped? You didn't really have probably a lot of capital to invest into talent. What did that conversation, look like to get someone to basically invest in your business at that stage to be a creative, behind, Dollar, Beer Club and what you guys created at that point in time?
That's a really great question. It's kind of like a one-word answer in my mind, and it's vision. Another super talent that Chris has is the ability to paint a vision like no other. And, I talk to a lot of people in the baby bathwater community or brand owners and in e-commerce and stuff. And I think that when you speak to a business owner and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing this much money and, our exit goal is this. And like, they start talking about their numbers. All that's very important, of course, running a business. That person, like, to me, like, doesn't get me nearly as excited as when you hear someone that's on a mission, right? And they just like talk about that mission and they just light you up. You're like, cool, I'd like to help with that. And, when I've heard people paint their vision, I will, like, without solicitation, go and help them, be like, hey, you should talk to this person and make a connection, right? Yeah. And so having a really clear vision and the ability to articulate it, and in Chris's case is very excitedly and fill up a room, that was the secret to getting me to drop everything and move to California and not really understanding what the potential was. I just like, hey, this company or this guy is going to go and do something. So he was really great at having people follow him. And one of the companies I'm working with right now, the CEO is just absolutely amazing at that. He's got a very clear vision. And people will gravitate towards that, and they'll work extra hours, they'll work extra hard, they'll go above and beyond because they want to see the mission come to completion. Yeah. So the same thing goes not only for like early employees, it goes, in through the lifespan of the company, and it goes into the kind of suppliers you get. It goes into like how you talk to the customers or how you talk to media. And I'm sure Cameron Harold, another baby bathwater member. His book Vivid Vision's a great outline for anyone that wants to get better at this process. Really fun process too. But when you have that clearly articulated vision, I think people will kind of come to you like this sort of oasis in the desert, and that like I said, includes vendors, but it also includes top talent who'll be, in your startup phase. They know they can't pay you or you can't pay them as much as you'd like to and as much as they're worth, but you're able to offer them, a part of something that's bigger than themselves and bigger than just a paycheck. And, if you can figure out the incentive and the structure right, you can offer them equity in the company and really let them have skin in the game too. So
totally.
Without the
I
equity,
realize that in my own company. So
I can relate. I think a blended approach is good.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I'm just curious, and I don't know if you can, even quote this because it was years ago, but, what was that vision that Chris painted that sold you? How did he, what was the vision and how did he sell it? What were some things that you remember from that pitch to you that really resonated with you? This way, maybe the audience could possibly learn how they can incorporate maybe some of what Chris did into their own vision, how they pitch, people into their own companies.
Yeah. So, Chris's pitch to me was definitely different than, our pitch to employees of Beard Club or people that were looking to work with us. But also was an unfair advantage. We had this cool, funny company. So people were coming to us and be like, hey, I want to work for you. I'll mop the floors for free for weeks and stuff. I think really on a personal level, how Chris got me is, we got to know each other very quickly. And, my motivation at the time, I was really looking for something. I was I want a vehicle mainly for personal and self-development. And I was sort of taking part in this process of how do I become healthier? How do I become more successful? It's kind of getting addicted to that whole, self-development kind of process, which he was very much into as well. And so he kind of showed me how that was a part of the roadmap. And the other side was, to be honest, I was really money hungry. I wanted more cash. It was I know I deserve to make more money and all this, and I just can't find the vehicle. And it wasn't that he promised me hey, you're going to make a ton of money. That was a discussion, but really my motivation for making a lot of money, I wanted to retire my parents. That was a huge goal that I had. Right. And so, he had the same goal. And so we bonded on this common ground, but also I think when you're painting a vision and, whether it's on a company level or personal level, if you can align with something that allows that person to charge that with emotion. So it's cool, let's go and make millions of dollars is a different pitch than let's go retire your parents by making millions of dollars. Right. Then you feel that connection. So, obviously that's different for everything that you're talking about and the way you kind of anchor that. But I think that emotional connection, it's the same sort of thing as if you're talking about, the law of attraction and in quantum physics, when you're trying to manifest things and get things to be a reality, that only works, when there's work behind that, but also when that vision's there and you have this emotional attachment to the outcome as if it's already happened. Right. Yeah. So, and it goes the same for a company vision as well, not just the personal vision. Is creating this entity that doesn't exist yet of, the company in 3 years or 1 year. You want to actually really be able to tangibly see and feel and experience what that company is. And that's what, Cameron's Vivid Vision process is all about, is not just a vision board. It's here's the personality of what you're accomplishing expressed through emotions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. It just sounds like there's just a lot of authenticity, in, the vision that Chris went over with you, and it resonated with you because of how authentic it was, how deep it was, how personal it was. It wasn't just about money and revenue and business results. It was about making a bigger impact beyond just him. And that's why you were sounds like you were sold into that pitch, that vision, was because of the fact that he had a deeper meaning behind the goals that he had for the company, and you resonate with that because you had a similar goal as well.
Yeah. And I think this is something that when I speak at conferences or talk about branding, or even a lot of things that people get stuck on, it kind of alludes to a point that I wanted to make on this is a lot of people are really stuck on finding the why for a company beyond making money. Right. So they're sure, I want to have passion for my company and I want to love what I do. And I want it to be to have this driving why, this mission behind the business and stuff. Well, they don't know where to start. For us at Beard Club, we didn't really have that why other than making money. It just we hit a lot of the right areas perfectly and had the right timing. I mean, organic reach was a thing in 2015 on social media.
Right. Not anymore, but
yeah,
but back then it was.
Absolutely. And so like, we didn't have this why behind our brand. And then we were doing a company, like a yearly planning meeting. And so we're like, what do we want the brand to be like this year? And there were a couple of guys that got tattoos of the Beard Club logo on their arm. And we were like, this is incredible. Like, we created a company and now there's people that are actually getting this tattooed. And so it was just this huge honor. And I reached out to them. It's like, hey, what are the things that really drove you to that? I'll paraphrase a little bit, but he was like, I'm a very shy guy. I don't meet a lot of new people. It's hard for me to kind of branch out and make new friends. But, I've got a beard, and like when I see another guy with a beard, it's really easy. Like, hey, have you seen the Beard Club video? Like, it's so funny. And like, have you seen all these videos? And that was really like the sort of bond that we're creating between people, like this whole community that we're facilitating. We're like, well, that's really cool that we're like a talking piece, awesome. And we're a thing that brings people together, which, by the way, especially now, even more so than in 2015, people are starved for connection. And there's so much out there right now that's like dividing us, like left versus right and Trump versus Hillary. And like, it's like this meme versus that meme. And so when you have a brand or something that's like bringing people together, that sticks out like huge, more than your angry meme or your happy meme or whatever it is. Right. So that was one of the things we were providing, was that connection. And I think for anyone watching, for you to be able to do that now is even more relevant and more powerful. The other thing you said was, I'm not the most confident guy, always been pretty shy and just kind of kept to myself and just struggled with self-confidence my whole life. But now I've got, stuff that I put on my beard. I have this personal care routine. And so what we did was we gave him this vehicle of, him taking care of himself was acknowledging that he was worth taking care of. Right. And so we're like, whoa, this is more than just like beard oil. This is like self-confidence, and this is belonging. And so we, just by talking to our customers, which by the way is free, for all the money we spend on tools and stuff, one of the most powerful ones is to talk to the people that are buying from you. Who'd have thought? Yep. But it doesn't come with a digital dashboard, so it's not as attractive. It really blew our minds in terms of what we were doing, and it changed the way we were looking at the brand and how that was communicated through our customer service agents, the way we were talking about it. It changed our overall content strategy and made us focus a little more on like what it means to be a bearded man. We used to get a lot of views on videos that had, girls and guns and stuff. And like, that was cool and flashy, but we realized like we weren't doing a good enough job of being a gentleman's brand and sort of conveying the image of what it means to be a bearded man, and like connecting with yourself and being more natural, and all the stuff that we embodied, we weren't talking about. Right. So it was this kind of big reset. And that was really powerful. So like, again, I think it's really easy for us to say the buzzwords of like, start with why and, have a brand with purpose. But for most people, they have no idea where to get started. And again, going back to that like free little tip is, start to ask why your customers bought stuff. Like, and I think we all know that really people don't buy your product. They buy the way it makes them feel. They buy the results and all that stuff. So kind of looking deeper into that will kind of give you a clue on how to back up and then look at it again and say, okay, now why am I doing this? Or what can the why be? Or if that doesn't help, like what about the pool of people, like your sort of customer, your target customers, what are they facing that you want to change? If it's like a weight loss supplement, obviously it's, they want to change the way they feel about themselves. What can you support as like a charity or as a part of like your mission? I think these are really important things. If you don't want to compete on price, you have to stand for more than just price.
Right. Yeah. You guys, create a movement, is what you're referring to. And there's been a lot of successes, in business where businesses have created those movements. Now it wasn't intentional. It sounds like it just happened out of the blue. You had a video that went viral, then all of a sudden you had a lot of success, and then you obviously had to keep the success going. And, then you improve operations, improve marketing, reached out to more people, you were able to basically create a movement starting with that first viral video. What were some of the things that, you did to create that movement from the time you started with that viral video all the way until, the time you left the business, it sounds like. What were some of the things you did, whether it was yourself or, your team, to really create that movement that got people really resonating with the brand?
That's a really good question. Again, some of it was the skill set that we had for creating videos that people wanted to share. Some of it was the timing of the, people in 2015, like there were a lot more people rocking big beards then. It was just kind of timing was right. To back that up a little bit even more, and I don't want to fully discredit ourselves because, there's a lot of things that we did right and a lot of work, but also we sort of hijacked what was already there. There was this, like, if you look it up, there's this thing called the beard nod, and you've probably seen it without knowing it, but it's when one bearded guy and another bearded guy are sort of catch eyes. They're like, hey, it's like this acknowledgement, like the nod,
For
nice
me, it's
beard.
like I ride a motorcycle,
I was just about to say, yeah. Like, so there's the motorcycle.
We always it's always those two fingers when we're passing each other, and
I love that when I rode a bike. Yeah.
Totally, man. Totally. You resonate with that. Okay. So you kind of, like you said, you hijacked on a movement a little bit, it sounds like, because at the time beards were pretty big.
Yeah. I think we provided an outlet for that movement and a voice where there wasn't one before. But like you said, there's the motorcycle wave, there's the Tesla wave, there's the Jeep wave. And it's just this acknowledgement that there's something that links you with intimacy, right? And so we kind of rewrote what that was with our name, right? And especially with humor, right? Yeah. So, a lot of people ask how they can start their own movement, especially in things where it's maybe not quite as exciting, or there's not enough wiggle room with what you can say, like depending on the industry, as there is with beards, because we could basically say or do whatever we wanted. And so I encourage people to look at, like, what are those connections that already exist, and then how can you rewrite those with, like, humor or any other sort of like big emotional charge. And so, like, we did a really good job at that of that connection that already existed. And I spoke to it a little bit too about the guy who had the tattoo. Was like, when I see another guy with a big beard, like, I talk about your video, right? So I don't think it was so much as, to be honest, we could have done so much of a better job, like, as we were building up, as internalizing a community. We didn't know enough about sort of the world of internet marketing and building an email list. And we could have done a better job at building a Facebook group. And we missed a lot of opportunities in that sense, where we could have really internalized and built a community as we were taking off. Instead, we just kind of, started a movement by hijacking an existing one, or allowing people to insert us into that equation, if that makes sense. So, to answer your question, like, I'm not sure that we did start the movement. I think we put our name on it in a meaningful enough way. And that was, I think, mainly done as well because one thing we were very good at is, the video marketing. And when somebody would see our video, if they had a beard, they would love it, and they would tag their friend who had a beard. Like, my aunt, for example, would be like, oh, Alex has a beard, I'm going to tag him in this. This is funny. Right. So it was an immediate, like, this is for this person, I'm going to share it. So we created very shareable things. And that's what allowed us to get to that point of rewriting this as we started a movement. Really, it was just like we got ourselves in people's mind when they think about that subject matter.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, man. And the thing is that, I know that video marketing was one of the biggest, like, skill sets that really drove the growth of the business. But was there any other, like, strategies or, processes you put in place, or even things you did that you feel like were little hinges that swung big doors when it came to performance, when you were really, like, scaling, Dollar Beard Club? Is there anything like that comes to mind that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Honestly, like, the video is by far the biggest piece. But like I said before as well, that viral video, really the first video that we had, and arguably maybe the second based on who shared it, were really the only two viral hits that we had. The rest of them were just, like, videos that did really well when we put ad spend behind them, right? So we were able to acquire customers. Cool. I think, something that we had to really learn and really focus on was, in the beginning, the first 8 months, we were growing so much, we were acquiring so many customers. We were really sort of not attuned enough to who was leaving the business. And, this is especially important for scaling a subscription business, where if you're not retaining enough customers, you're basically in the churn business and you don't really have a subscription business. But something that I think we all need to do better at in e-commerce is treating your existing customers like gold and just really encouraging them to buy again. And I think this is even more relevant now than it was in 2015, 2016, when we were acquiring customers so much less expensively with that great content. Now, even with great content, it's going to be so much more expensive because it's such a more competitive world for Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising. So I think now more than ever, when you have someone that purchases from you, a plan in place to make sure that they purchase again and purchase more, and not just in the sense that you want to milk as much money of them as possible, but genuinely building relationships, especially to the point of when they're advocates.
Totally.
Advocacy is just like, and it's funny too, because I mean, before this life on the internet, I used to work with my dad for years and then worked in construction, and he built a business that never became anything big, but he was never out of work and never wanted for customers because he took really good care of them. So the phone would ring. He had a seasonal business. He did stonework and stuff, and the phone would ring all spring and all summer, and he'd have more work than he wanted because he took care of people and people loved him. People would refer their friends. They would drive by and see that their friend had got their front entranceway done. So I bring this up because this is very much the offline old school world. This is a guy who never in his life, which unfortunately ended prematurely, but never went on Facebook once in his life, didn't need any of that whatsoever. Now we're obsessed with this idea of funnels and performance marketing, and all that's very, 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 very important because you need to bring people on the door. But especially when you get to scale in the digital world, there's almost no thought to this customer experience, right? And this advocacy and getting people to recommend you. But really, all the profit in business, no matter what business you're in, is on repeat business, right? So once you've paid for that acquisition, you've done all that really hard work, especially now, you've got to be really good to get scale going. Once you've got that in, then focus on how that ecosystem is sold to and how you treat them and what their experience is like. I think that is a ball that's being dropped by most companies. Everyone can learn to improve upon it. And it's a lesson from old world, completely offline business that's just as true in the online. But what makes it worse is, when you have a business that say have 5 customers over me every month, those just become numbers. And it's not until you pick up the phone and go, hey, why'd you get the tattoo like we did, until you reconnect with that and go, oh yeah, these are real people. There's real lessons to be learned here. So that was sort of a big soliloquy there, but
no, but it's
I think it's really important,
invaluable soliloquy. I mean, you have to treat your business as a real business, whether it's online or offline, and that building relationships with your customers. And if the thing is that I bet you, if you were to go back, look at your reporting, and you would see your customer lifetime value being impacted by all those customer service efforts and steps and processes you put in place to enhance what happened after someone became a customer. I bet you that CLTV went up drastically because of what you were doing there. So, I mean, that's an invaluable, tip for, the audience here, because, you really do have to treat your business like a real business. You have to, really get your customers to stick, and you have to, value your customers more so than valuing getting new customers. Because if you're doing that, it's going to be much easier from a revenue standpoint to be able to acquire customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all talk about the good customer experiences that we have, and we all talk about the bad ones, right? So being very deliberate about what that conversation, Babak Azad, I'm sure. From Baby Bathwater. So it's sort of one of the things that he talks about is winning that story inside your customer's head. What is it that they're saying about you? And that is super important to scaling a business. That's free advertising. Or it's free, hey, don't buy this from this company because I had this bad experience.
It could be negative advertising.
we had plenty of that in the beginning too, because we couldn't keep up with demand, or our website would mess up and we would double charge people, right? So you do have to deal with, especially at scale, when there's repercussions. It can be a lot of repercussions, and you have to be very careful and deliberate about how you handle those.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of times people don't see that you're a company that's run by, 8 millennial dudes that have no idea what they're doing half the time and trying to figure it out. And you have to be able to show them that you are human and that you're, make that a part of your story.
Definitely.
And as a smaller business, that's the freedom that you have versus like, someone buying from Walmart. They're not going to have that same ability to build that connection to the Walmart shareholders. But if you can be transparent and talk about you as the business owner or what the brand means, then that's going to help. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, you're good, man. No, I mean, you're right though. That's a competitive edge. I've talked about that too, that small businesses have a competitive edge against bigger brands because they can offer that type of direct relationship that bigger brands can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you're consulting and you're, coaching right now businesses. I'd love to maybe hear from you. What are some of the maybe biggest challenges, problems you're seeing on a somewhat common basis amongst the companies that you've been consulting with? What those are, and then also, what are your advice to these companies as you're like helping them overcome, those challenges, those problems that you're seeing come up time and time again?
Yeah, for sure. It was funny. I forgot to turn my notifications off, and Bob Ekazad, an email just came in from him literally right now. Good timing. Love you, Bob.
He heard you.
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned one of them. We talked about this already, which is it seems pretty unanimous that companies are having a harder time acquiring customers. You have to be really a ninja at performance marketing to make it work. You have to know your numbers and know your math and, be able to have the budget to potentially go in the red and, make your money up on a second order or third order of that lifetime value. Mm-hmm. So, on the front end of that is, being better with acquisition. And obviously my recommendation, so there's a couple things to unpack. The recommendation is to have like really great creative, to have this brand that you're experimenting with how to connect deeper and deeper and sort of rewrite one of those connections like we did with Humor and Bearded Guys, like to be committed to having great creative and iterating and testing. And again, in our experience, that was by having people on our team, but just having a really close relationship with creative people that want to build this brand with you. Mm-hmm. Obviously, having like a skilled media buyer goes a long way. And I'm sure you can attest to that. Okay. To kind of navigate through the difficult sort of landscape. And then once you do acquire customers, making sure that you can get that month 2, month 3, making sure you're building those authentic relationships, which by the way, go towards creating more content and giving you feedback on what's going to get more people like them in the door as well. And sort of speaking. So that's kind of like one loop on the acquisition and retention front. Okay. The other that I see most businesses dealing with in e-commerce because, and this relates again to that month 2, month 3 thing, because we're creating physical products, we're creating this dongle, right? We have to pay 3 months ahead of time. We got to put a deposit down. We got to get it shipped from China, or we got to get it produced domestically. So there's, the cash crunch is a very real, it's a very real thing for all e-commerce companies. And, the bigger you are, the more cash you have tied up to an extent, right? The way around that is really having someone in your corner who understands finance. And, we didn't really have a great handle on that in the beginning. And we brought on, an external CFO, and there's a couple of great agencies like Chris Schwalbach from AVL is really great. But there's a number of different resources and really people that you can have. Like if you don't have a background in finance, you should really talk to somebody. And that's something that you shouldn't mess around with. And not just like an accountant, but somebody who's more of like a CFO, like decision-making focused, right? Because it's a huge mistake I see happen all the time where it's like, hey, we need 50 grand to place this PO and then we'll sell it and we'll turn it over. And what happens is they just create a bigger cash crunch, like 3 months down the line, right? So being able to understand your business and the cash flow cycle is the difference between growing this fast and like this fast or like this fast. Yeah. Right. And so everyone's kind of tempted to raise money and raise financing, but I think without someone in your corner that knows what kind of financing or, if you're ready to even do that, if you have the numbers right, I think that's like a really big key that I would advise e-commerce entrepreneurs of all stages to have. And if you're more advanced, then you've already either learned this lesson or you started out knowing more than we did and hired someone, or you're a finance person. Having someone like that on your team or externally is very important.
Yeah. Well, I think it just some people have probably heard this, but I think, there's a saying that, you want to hire people smarter than you, for different needs of a company. And, if finance and math is not your strength, and you could even maybe make the argument that as a CEO, as the leader of an e-commerce business, you shouldn't be focused on that anyway. But whether it is or not, there is definitely value in bringing in talent and skill that can specialize in finance, they can really handle that aspect of the business. So that's an incredible tip that can really make a big difference, because obviously, cash flow is everything. We need cash to be able to breathe. And when you're investing into product and you're dipping into, the negative because maybe you're expecting the customer lifetime value to bring the profits back from, say, ad spend, for example, you really have to have someone there measuring and tracking and reporting everything and giving you, advice on what they're seeing on that end of the business. Yeah.
And there's so many different like cash traps that you can walk into. And so one of the businesses I'm working with now is expanding their product line and expanding their product category. And it's great. They're awesome products. Things are going very well, but they're also expanding their inventory and their supply chain complexity at the same time. And I think that, not that, this was very deliberate and planned for, but I think a lot of people, if they don't see, the cash investment part of that and are only seeing like what the potential payoff is, when you start to deal with like minimum order quantities and different things like that, you can spread yourself too thin, right? So again, like having somebody that can say, hey, like this is the schedule on which you should probably be launching these. Here's your good, better, best for each launch scenario. I think helps a lot.
Totally, man. Well, I know that we're getting to the end of our time here, so I want to be very, respectful of your time. So this is like the last part of the interview here, and we're going to go into kind of a little fun bonus round that I've come up with, where I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and the challenge for you is you got to answer each question with only one word.
Oof. I like the sound of my own voice sometimes, so I'll try and keep it brief.
No, it's all good, man. Cool. All right. So in one word, what caused your biggest e-com success to date?
Video.
I felt that was coming.
I wanted to think of something different, but we've got to go with what works.
Yeah. Hey, that's you guys were awesome at that, and you guys created some awesome videos that did really well. Some went viral, some didn't, but they were all exceptional. So that's that's fine. So what advice do you have for other e-com business owners?
Persevere.
Cool. Okay. How would you describe yourself?
Humble? That's a cop-out answer.
And then what do you see in your future?
Fulfillment.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So we're done with the one-word answers and the bonus round. I just want to leave people with a way for them to reach out to you, contact you, follow you, get to know you, hire you possibly. How can someone do that?
Probably the best way is if you want to reach out to me personally, just Alex at ecommercerockstars.co. And that's kind of the sort of consulting / membership program that I have where I do kind of group coaching and have a course, ecommercerockstars.co. Those are probably the easiest ways. And if you have any questions from this, like I'm always happy to follow up. It's funny, like the first podcast interview I did, I was like, I wonder if I should give my email, probably have all these people reaching out. Most people actually don't reach out, but I always encourage people to, like, if you have a question, something sticks out, like if I can help you on an email, I definitely will. So by all means, reach out. I love meeting new people. Not sure when this will be airing, so I won't talk to the different events that I'll be going to in case they've passed or present or whatever. But I go to a lot of different industry events, and always happy to have a beer or a coffee or eat with someone cool that's doing cool stuff. Yeah. So Alex at ecomrockstars.com. Yeah. Alex at ecommercerockstars.co. Got it. Okay. So, all right. So you heard it, guys. Alex at ecommercerockstars.co. Reach out to Alex. Alex has had tremendous success behind him, and he's helping e-commerce companies right now have tremendous success.
Thank you so much, Alex, for being on the show. This episode is expected to air just, on the 17th. So next Friday, as of this recording, that is. But yeah, it was my pleasure. It was my honor to have you on the show. I greatly appreciate it. And if there's anything I could do for you besides buy you a beer when I see you, probably at TNC here in a few months, let me know.
I very, very much appreciate the opportunity to be on here. And it's true honor always to share my story, and hopefully someone out there listening got something from it. And if you have any more questions, reach out to me. But yeah, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, thanks for being on. I appreciate it.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Josh Marsden here, host of the e-commerce performance marketing show. So on February 18th and the 19th, I'm going to be showing 30 business owners how they can scale their ad performance by using our ARM5 formula. Now, this formula has yielded successes such as a 1,524% ROI using Facebook ads over 6 months. It's done a $330,000 sales period for Black Friday 2019. It's even seen a $93,000 sales day for one of our clients. It's an awesome strategy and process that I'm going to be revealing exclusively to 30 business owners here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, where I'm located. So if you'd like to be a part of this event, then go ahead and click on the link below or swipe up, find out more before it's too late, because again, this is limited to 30 business owners. And I'm looking for action takers that are hungry for success. They're willing to put the work in and want to learn our ARM5 formula, so this way they can use online advertising effectively, successfully, and also at scale. So click below or swipe up, find out more about the ARM5 formula intensive happening February 18th and the 19th here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona.
Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce business.